Before the HD video game revolution, turn-based games were king, and among those, Final Fantasy obviously reigned supreme. Millennials like myself would tell you if you owned a PlayStation 1, you owned a Final Fantasy game, regardless of status. These golden age of video games impacted me significantly. People will tell you all the time how a specific book they read as a kid changed their life, or helped them get through a hard part of it. But for me, and countless other 30-year-old weebs, FF6, 7, 8, 9, those were those stories for us. And the author of those stories, Hironobu Sakaguchi, directed Final Fantasy for Squaresoft since its conception. The first Final Fantasy game was actually a last-ditch effort to see if they could even survive as a video game making company, hence its name, their Final Fantasy. Partnered up with part god, part best composer of our lifetime, Nobuo Uematsu, they continued to craft story gold for a decade, but sadly, all things come to an end. Sakaguchi left the Final Fantasy team after Square merged with Enix, before Final Fantasy X. He didn't leave pissed off or anything. After their dip into the movie biz with Spirits Within totally bombing and costing them a metric shit ton, he realized that he was pretty burnt out. That, and he was pretty bummed. They did not expect that movie to fail as bad as it did. Uematsu also left Square a few years later looking to retire. These two put everything they had into creating non-stop for decades, and finally they were able to slow down and just chill for like one damn minute. But chilling can be boring. Sakaguchi created his own studio to make games, but at his own pace. And Mistwalker Games came out with a few bangers since he began it, notably Lost Odyssey for the Xbox 360. If you haven't played it, you should. Its existence flew under the radar, but ended up having a cult following for good reasons. It's really worth it. Well, fast forward to now, Final Fantasy XVI, the last main title game to come from this series, was released a few years ago. And yeah, it looks amazing. The story is also very captivating. The music is phenomenal, and the battle system is updated and dynamic, but it's missing something. That old Final Fantasy spark that let you feel like, yes, you were playing a Final Fantasy game. I don't know, there's just something powerful about having a team of characters, like, just lined up perfectly, waiting patiently to be told how to fight, while a powerful hype anthem just blasts in the background while you fight God or something. And I don't know, a lot of us kind of miss how simplistic things could be, because sometimes being simplistic is fun. Fantasian is the newest game from Mistwalker. Originally, Fantasian was a free-to-play, Apple-only mobile game created by Sakaguchi to recreate the magic of the PS1 turn-based RPGs. Partnered with Uematsu to score the game, the two created Fantasian into two parts, with part 2 being released over a year later after the first. Fantasian became a hidden gem in the RPG circles, only played by a few, so its greatness was kept really under wraps. That is no longer the case. Fantasian New Dimension is now out across every console and taking the world by storm. Moved away from its annoying click-to-move controls and onto the big screen, its rightful home, it's been upgraded with full voice acting, 4K graphics, and trust me when I say this, it's worth the price tag for this update. Those mobile controls are awful. It's been a very long time since I picked up a game and refused to put it down like this. Okay, not that long. Baldurs Gate 3 was probably the last time I felt this addicted to finishing a game. And now that I finally beat it yesterday, about 50 hours, I'm finally ready to talk about it. So let's go over this game in my usual way. We cover and grade the game into 4 different categories: story and writing, characters, the battle and systems, and then the design. Also, spoiler alert, I adore this game, so it's gonna probably rate high. Also, spoiler alert, actual spoilers. I'm gonna leave out a ton, so you'll still totally get surprised when you play the game. There's stuff I have to bring up, or this entire video will just sound insane. Music is also gonna get a new bonus category because of Uematsu's inclusion to Fantasian, which totally shows throughout the entire game. The music in this game goes absolutely fucking hard. There! So I'll be incorporating the music into the design category score. You can tell that the music for this game was supposed to be as intricate as it is. To take it even up more notches, They've included additional Final Fantasy music for boss fights and standard battle fights. Man, nothing hits harder than One Vegan Angel. It could be the nicest flower petal, girly moment ever, and it would absolutely turn harrowing.
I can do this! For everyone! Miracle!
It's like extra credit for a class no one enrolled in or even wanted to take. By the way, thanks for being here. If you like this type of videos, I would really appreciate if you subscribed. We're currently trying to get through all of the Tales of games and summarize them up to find out which one is the best. It's gonna take a bit. Anyway, let's get started. Fantasian starts off with our main character Leo waking up to two charming robot friends. He has no idea who he is or what's going on because he has amnesia. And I've already gone off about how weak of a plot line it is to have your main character not remember his past with Tales of Arise, and my thought doesn't change here. It's weak as hell, but I promise the game is still super good. Leo finds out that he's from a different dimension than the one that he's in, and poofs himself back with some fantasy tech thingamabob that he apparently got there with in the first place. Back in the human dimension, he runs into a girl named Kina, who grew up all alone in the woods, so she's only just a little weird. They team up, Leo off to find his dad's hideouts to hopefully recover more of his memory, and Kina to off to find her bio parents. They sneak onto a cruise ship and run into some people from Leo's past. A princess of the capital named Cheryl, and a captain of the ship named Zinniker. While they journey off into the sunset, they are constantly followed by a god named Zam. He shows up seemingly randomly to steal their shit. He steals some items for them that he is calling the divine artifacts. Leo has very little memory of how he had got them, so it's all very confusing to him. The human realm and the world map seems kind of small at first, but it does turn out to be way bigger than it looks. It's also dealing with a very unique type of virus, a mechanical virus that's spreading throughout the planet in the shape of technology itself, emitting poison from these little spheres called bacteria. It's spreading literally across everywhere, poisoning everyone as it goes. It's corrupting whole blocks of cities, forcing people to just get up and move to the other side of the city where it's not full of poisoned mechanical computer balls. Anyway, so Cheryl joins Leo and Kima because Leo, apparently before he lost his memory, stood her up on a date, and now she wants to help him get his memory back so she could guilt him properly. Cheryl's awesome, dude. Eventually, some crazy shit happens and Van swoops in. Both Cheryl and Kima are whisked away into another dimension, the machine dimension that Leo started the game in. They both try to find a way home and run into Leo's robot buddies from the beginning. They explain to them that Leo reprogrammed them, and in the chaos of that, they found free will. They have been helping the other robots around to find consciousness and installed a secret base to hide away from what they call order. Like capital O, order. They describe order as a function, like a way of life and a law. They also explain that VAM is trying to disrupt order because when order is complete, it will cause a singularity that will capsize all dimensions and starting a new Big Bang. Meanwhile, Leo and Zinniker head to the capital city to find a power source to get them into the machine realm. They get busted and tossed into prison because Leo has to warp them to a place he remembers, and the only place he remembers is Cheryl's bedroom, like a creeper.
Oh. So, you've grown to wear such things as this. What?
In prison, they have a death race style fight in the Colosseum, with the winner being able to win their freedom. And here they find my favorite team member, Ez. Ez rocks. Ez totally kicks ass. He's a kid and an inventor who reluctantly helps them escape prison and leads them back to his house. He follows Leo when he learns that Princess Cheryl was captured, as he happens to be a secret simp of hers. They finally get to Leo's home, where his memories finally return to him. His father and mother were mechanical geniuses. They discovered dimensional travel and found all kinds of treasures. One discovery led them to a gauntlet. This gauntlet somehow pulled his mother's life force out of her, ending her life. Her father then became very, very obsessed in finding a way to revive her. But what's more important is they finally remembered how to get back into the machine dimension and finally head out to save the two of Leo's three potential love interests. Before they get there, Cheryl's tiara starts acting real trippy, and Vam's voice starts ringing in her head, telling her to meet him. She starts being controlled like a puppet and follows it, with Kima shortly behind her trying to get her to stop as she walks towards a large wormhole. Leo and the team finally get to Vam at the wormhole and just start blasting, finally being able to save Kima and Cheryl and stop the bacteria. After the fight, Vam, god of chaos's brother, Jazz, the god of order, appears to take advantage of the situation and then unalives Vam. The god of order needed to get chaos out of his way to achieve zero, a multiverse with perfect order, no emotion, no mistakes, triggering a new Big Bang, essentially just hard resetting everything in existence that is or will be. And you know what? We're gonna stop there. Play this game, y'all. It's worth it. I already skipped around a ton, and this is really where the first part kind of ends. This game really opens up after this. Leo wakes up in a new dimension filled with chaos, and it's a lone survivor. The game drops away from the linear go here and then go here storyline and opens an entire world map plus the other dimensions you get to pop in and out of and find out for yourself. Your characters also unlock skill trees, and like, no shit, I legit screamed and jumped when I saw this. I was not expecting to have to think about builds in this game. I was so excited. The story is delightful, the writing is pretty good, it's not transcending, I should add. There is a great story here that I would hate to ruin for someone this close to the game's release date. But again, there's no wheel being broken here, but who said that I needed it to be? Every RPG out now tries to outdo the previous with something bigger and grander every time. Sometimes I just want to travel dimensions with my robot friends, find stray cats, and kill God. I don't know what to say. I'm a simple man with simple needs. Regardless of an RPG story quality, its characters will always stand alone for criticism. There's been amazing stories with just garbo characters. It's a bummer, but it happens. Fantasian's characters don't fall into that category for me. Like the story, they seem really simple until they're not. But there's way more involved in part 1 than part 2. I really feel like they didn't interact with each other too much after part 2 started, except with Leo. There's tons of interactions with the characters in Leo. Leo, our amnesiac hero, begins the game just trying to look for himself. He has no clue who he is or what's even happening, so he only knows is to keep going forward. As you could probably expect, he discovers his past to be a lot more tragic than he expected. When he snuck into his parents' lab as a child, he watched his mother's life leave her body. Leo's father became obsessed and dedicated to find a way to resurrect his wife, but he did still have a child to take care of. Leo grew up with only fond memories of his mother that slowly eroded with time. While his only parent, as smart as he is, couldn't see that his son needed him. Thankfully, Leo doesn't really hold a lot of resentment for him. If anything, he pities his father for becoming so lost. Not only that, but Leo still sees him as a hero and wants to become like him, and even follow in his footsteps. In true anime protagonist fashion, Leo handles his trauma incredibly well. He has his little moments to reflect about how he was neglected, but he moves on pretty quick. I mean, that's good for him as a person, but it does kind of make him not relatable. Leo's Gryffindor ass is here to save the world with the power of friendship and constantly miscues when women hit on him. And they do. Leo has his place, but I do feel like the other characters have a ton more to offer when it comes to personality. He kind of reminds me of Titus from Final Fantasy X, but if Titus went to therapy. But Titus was so flawed, I kind of related to him because of that. Meanwhile, Leo's parents were geniuses, so now he's special because he gets to use their technology. And that kind of came out harsh. And I get this was an app game, so it wasn't written to be something jam-packed full of lore and events to connect them to the characters, but the day they decided to sell this game to me at $59.99 is the day I decided that it needs to be looked at with the same console game magnifying glass. In battle, Leo serves as the fighter. His attack, evasion, and speed are dope. He also learns abilities that hit more than one time, which was really helpful for getting through barriers, and he also can stack fire or electricity on his attacks. But we will have way more to talk about their battle system down in the battle place. There'll also be tips about how to build them and stuff. Kina is an interesting character, one that I kind of have to spoil to even talk about, so another warning. Kina was found in a forest alone by a fortune teller con artist turned actual oracle named Owen. Kina's main drive to travel with Leo is to find out why the hell some grown-ups left a baby in the middle of the forest, which is a pretty powerful motivator for sure. Before Owen, baby Kina was looked after by these crazy frog boys named Bribidons, and if you played Lost Odyssey, you might think, hey, wait a minute, those are kind of familiar. Because they're not just cute, I think Sakaguchi really likes them. He puts them in a lot of Mistwalker things. Anyway, she leaves Owen to follow Leo to find her real parents. Kina is very soft and caring. She's also another example of a not so complicated character that's still very interesting. She finds herself to be the lost daughter of the Queen of Vibra and Cheryl's sister. After this discovery, Kina kinda has a meltdown because honestly, it makes things way more confusing. Not to mention the dream of fighting her mother being totally squashed as she has died several years before she even met Cheryl. Now that she knows who she's supposed to be, she struggles with understanding what she is. She feels like she has to choose to be the girl that Owen found, or maybe the next queen that Cheryl thinks she is. And that's pretty difficult for her. Cheryl is Kina's opposite, and one of my favorites. Cheryl has been training to be the next queen since she was a child, and carries herself with that determined dignity. She is also a lot of things, really. She's very headstrong. She's also a fashion influencer, which I thought was pretty damn funny. Cheryl grew up with a mother who was so destroyed over loss, she wasn't able to be a mother for her. When Kina was kidnapped and dropped off into a hut in the middle of a forest, their mother became so depressed she shut out most things in her life. Cheryl grew up trying to earn her attention while living in the shadow of a sister she never even met. Cheryl's also pretty head over heels for Leo. Prior to us meeting her in the game, her and Leo had set up a date, which Leo stood her up on. She carries that resentment with her, which is especially difficult to deal with when Leo doesn't even remember meeting her in the first place. She pretends to be over it, while her rockabilly butler is still pretty pissed off about it. Her butler, by the way, Sebastian, is also super friggin' rad. Throughout the entire game, he just shows up to kick Leo's ass for making Cheryl feel sad once. Sebastian's been Cheryl's biggest support for most of her life, and he has a cool mohawk, which is pretty sweet. While traveling with Leo, Cheryl is also trying to prove herself to the kingdom, and honestly herself, that she is deserved to take up the mantle of queen after her mom. Cheryl's one of my favorite characters. I really loved how she was just humanized, trying so hard to be this polite princess who's probably gonna rule, most of the planet soon, but still having such a hard time with things like resentment towards someone. She doesn't want to hold on a grudge, so she does everything she can to get over it by possibly helping Leo find his memory so they can start something new. They meet Zendikar while escaping the Sand Sea. He is the captain of the Usra, this game's main mode of transportation besides literal transportation. Zendikar is old friends with Leo's dad, even helping him find a piece of technology that led his dad on the path to trying to get his mother resurrected. Zendikar has an artifact that he doesn't remember having. This crystal ball, for some reason, when studied by Bernard, Leo's dad, showed him an actual resurrection successfully taking place in a place that they called the God Realm. I believe this is why Zendikar tries so hard to help Leo out. He feels guilty that because of him, his father was lost trying to find something that he ultimately can achieve. Zendikar is tough and lighthearted and very, very, very hard to talk about without real big major ass spoilers. It's like the secret of the game. So I'm gonna skip around a little bit. The team definitely look up to him like a role model, except Ez, who he and Zendikar fight a lot. With Kina and Cheryl, they come up to him several times in the game just to ask for help or advice before he even joins Leo, but he's happy to do it and drop whatever he has to help his friend's son. He's a good guy, and he ends up falling for another member of the team, but it's super rushed and I don't really feel like it's very important. They try to sneak in a love story at the last minute and it doesn't really hold legs. Wait, holds legs? That's a thing, right? Anyway, Ez is one of my favorite characters in the entire game. Story-wise, battle abilities, his design, his weapon, all of it, Ez just kicks ass. Ez is really young and joins the team in prison. Together they battle through the Colosseum for freedom. Well, actually they battle each other, but anyway. They realize that Ez is a fucking genius, and with his help, the only thing that gets them free was Ez. Ez is an orphan who lives with an older man who's slowly dying that he calls Pops. Pops is helping the other orphans in Vibra by giving them a home, and Ez is teaching them how to build things. Ez, being the total bossy as he is, turned the place into a sweatshop. That's not super true, but he does have kids working for money. It's those little hands, probably. Little fingers helps you get, like, complicated machinery made. Ez is hot-headed, and if it wasn't for his crush on Princess Cheryl, I'm not even sure he would even be tagging along with Leo. He acts like he doesn't care about anything, and it's extremely obvious he cares about some things, like those kids. His side quests all involve him helping them out and their beef with a rival crafting guild. That, and going into the machine realm to find scrap metal to make things that he will help him out or help his business. His fascination with Cheryl isn't just cause he's seen her spread in the magazine. Cheryl has apparently been helping as his orphanage and visits them regularly to make sure that they're safe. I would have liked to seen more interaction with those two. Ez got so excited to help Leo and Zeneker to save them, but I don't remember any scene in the game with Ez and Cheryl even talking. I mean, just one would have been cool. Hell, I don't even think Ez talked to the actual robot in the team more than the one line towards the end of the game. I mean, he's a robot, and Ez is a mechanic and an engineer. The banner kind of just writes itself. Ez is the smartest person in the group, and one of them is a literal computer. And holy shit, does he get the best skills in the game. Ez is completely different from everyone else. He doesn't even really use magic. He has to make everything in the battle that he uses. And he gets the best weapon in my opinion too. It's just really fun all around. Prickle is a security robot who has stumbled into self-awareness with his friend Clicker. He's a little self-cautious, not being the best fighter, not being the best leader, and his comrades kind of make sure that he's aware of that.
It's not sleek or stylish either.
You've got a potbelly for some reason.
You could use a new paint job.
And on top of all that, you're a robot.
But Prickle gives the most shit compared out of any one of the party members, and puts every little piece of his heart into making sure that his newfound family is safe. After Leo warps out of the machine realm back into the human realm, him and Clicker helped other robots in the world find their hearts, with some light force reprogramming. When the other robots discovered self-identities, they were so grateful that they crowned Prickle and Clicker the Great Kings, purely just out of appreciation. It was a really nice gesture, but Prickle takes it really seriously, and it shows up at the altercation when Vam leaves their secret base completely destroyed. Prickle and Clicker end up being the only ones who aren't decommissioned and drag each one of their robot friends back and save them. Definitely do that, by the way. It's how you get most of the machine keys, and it unlocks Prickle's artifact, so 100% do that as soon as it unlocks. Prickle is one of my favorites. Him and Click are easy the funniest in the entire group. He also is incredibly generous. The whole world is being destroyed by Order, so he fights to save all his new robot friends, plus all the other machines that they will be awakened and have their own self-identities. He's just constantly saving the day. It's the only reason Leo was able to survive the first act. He saves Cheryl and Kina. He saves the entire Uzra. He's a total badass.
Still, it is true that I failed to protect our secret base. Additionally, some have suggested that I talk too much. Perhaps I would be better suited to some minor managerial position.
And in battle, he's one of the best. He's an absolute lifesaver. Barriers are fucking dope. Use them constantly, even if you know they're gonna break. Other than Leo, Prickle is also the one who gets the most interactions with the other team members. At least that's how it feels. Kina is even the one who named them. That's why they have those "we let our 4-year-old name the dog" kind of names. He also hangs out with Valrika, he kicks it with Cheryl again. But also, I would have loved to see more than just 2 lines of conversation between him and Ez, or any of them. Tam. Speaking of Tam, Tam's personality is the complete opposite of Prickle's, which is why I would have loved to see them like buddy cop style in some scenes. Tam plays our edgelord, and he does it very well. He's a tortured soul on the run from an opposing nation of Vibra, as he used to spy for them. One day, a boat he was on hit a storm, and he found the chance to start over on a deserted island with its only inhabitant. And of course, they fall in love. And of course, she dies, leaving him to struggle with that trauma. Tam gets sent on this warpath to revenge her and his buddy's father. His buddy is a spirit beast companion named Golf, both his weapon and his partner. The woman who took care of him died, leaving Tam brokenhearted and in their charge. Tam gets 3 different spirit beasts in the game, Golf, Adolfo, and Rudy, and these guys kick a lot of ass. Easily the hardest hitting character in the entire game. The spike damage you can get out of Rudy or partnering Golf up with Ez and Bounce is very dope. It wouldn't take Scooby-Doo to discover the mystery of Tam's softer side. He plays the mysterious but cool guy, but deep down the dude is pretty sensitive. He just doesn't know how to feel safe showing anything other than tough, because he's had to survive as a heartless spy and murderer for so long. Tam's a good character. He cares about his family. The world is ending, but he still asks Leo to help him find homes for stray cats. He's a neat dude. His story quest leads you to find a Ribodon, actually, that's made of complete metal. And this is a throwback to Miss Walker games. Heads up, the secret is to hit him with fire, but if you do it too much, his speed increases. It's a really fun fight, one of the most fun in the game, actually. Valrika gets a lot of screen time during the last half of the game, which makes sense because she doesn't even come in till it starts. Leo finds her alone in a universe that Vam destroyed and warped into a plane made of pure chaos. He told her that he saved her, but Valrika's stay in the Chaos Realm feels way more like a curse than salvation. She's been trapped in a lab all alone for years, knowing everyone on her planet who is or will ever be is dead. Valrika met Leo's dad Bernard before they meet her. His father was traveling dimensions trying to find what Valrika and him called the God Realm. Leo's dad gave Valrika something that she was in dire need of, companionship, and they worked together to uncover the secrets of Vam. Also, she was obviously really into him, and I'm pretty sure they boned. Good for her. Valrika follows the team for a couple of reasons. One is to help Leo for Bernard. She watched Bernard kill himself with this obsession, and I think she feels slightly responsible. So helping Leo is a way to make up for the sin that she carries. But she also has a score to settle with Vam. He destroyed her world, but instead of hate and revenge, she just wants to know why. Why does Jas want to destroy the universe, and why Vam chose her to be the sole survivor? Her attitude towards Vam is a lot more calm than one would think it would be for somebody who destroyed everything you knew. She has faith in Vam still, even after all these years of watching the desolated planet as it is now. There's also a group called the Cinderella Trio that shows up at places both to hit on Leo and kick his ass. These guys are wackos, but I really enjoyed the fights. Some of the most interesting but not overly complicated fights in the game are these nerds. The intro plays every time you see them, and it gets very annoying, but if you're playing the New Dimension version, you can just hold down X and it'll fast forward. You're welcome. The last fight with these guys is a beast. Every trick is thrown at you, finally making them like an actual difficult match, and it gets really exciting. Emotions are important in these worlds. Emotions are the cornerstone of what makes magic work. Emotions are the balance to order, what makes them so powerful. If there's one thing that connects this group is that they all feel strongly. Their bodies may be weak, just an organization of cells in a perfect order to give them life. But the chaos of their emotions are their best attribute and their strongest weapon. The trauma of losing your mother and watching someone you love fall into despair. The isolation of feeling truly alone and the realization that family isn't blood. Love at first sight and the fear that it isn't reciprocated. The earth-shattering fear of the void, a something that is nothing. Hope that doing the right thing will lead to a better life for those who need it the most. Appreciation for those who have put their faith in you, even if you feel like you don't deserve it. Finding forgiveness for someone you hurt and vowing to protect what's left. Trying to find yourself and aspiring to find answers in a world bleak and ruined. I have a lot of nostalgia for turn-based RPGs, as I'm sure many people my age do. So really any game that just sets up 3 homies all in a line against a bunch of monsters on the other really could have just scratched that itch for me, and that would have been fine. But Fantasia's new battle system is changed and improved enough for me to get that fix while still staying pretty fresh. I say pretty fresh because, yeah, it's improved on this standard for sure, but it's not exactly extremely groundbreaking at the same time, which again, you know, I never asked for a reinvented wheel. In Fantasian, everything is done on an AoE scale. All attacks follow specific linear patterns that affect a space, which also follows the game's themes of space and physics. Attacks fly out of where the character is on the battle map, hitting the first character it sees in a line. Some attacks can twist and bend and turn around those in the back, or get around enemies that are guarding their line. Some attacks fall from the sky, or affect full line targets. There's tons of different effects, and they're all very interesting and unique. A lot of these attack patterns you have to be aware of. The bosses in this game are fun. They're also pretty challenging. You have to exploit every little thing you can, including the Mesh's animations. Certain monsters will expose a weakness but only on a specific part of their animation, so if a monster opens its mouth wide but looks up, you have to hit it with an attack that drops from the ceiling. The bosses in this game is where it's at. They're all very creative, they're all very cool. Discovering their secret perk is always a big thrill about this game. I had tons of fun with every boss. Some of them are pretty annoying, especially with their system of side effects that they put on you or you can put on them. There's just a lot involved, and it was really, really well done. The biggest catch of this game, though, is how they fix annoying constant random battles. I mean, you could still have those if you want, but now you're able to trap monsters that you should be fighting in random battles into a different dimension, and then fight them all at the same time. This really stays up a ton of time grinding and really gets you that sweet dopamine hit of just seeing shit tons of numbers pop up. And the best part of this remaster is you get to choose different battle musics from Uematsu's work from Final Fantasy games. I had it set on random the entire time. Getting hit with older boss music kicked so much ass. I loved all of it. But the new Dimension song slaps very hard, and I actually put it in my workout playlist. It's very good. The characters of Fantasian do follow a specific job scheme, like other Final Fantasy games. But when you unlock the skill trees, there's tons of overlap, letting you build them in tons of different ways. I mean, when those trees open up, you're able to get pretty weird with it. Sometimes getting the best outcome is the one that sounds the most ridiculous, like having your healer become easily the best tank in the game. There's also tons of room to try things out as you want to and see what happens, because you can undo any perk that you buy for free. All games should do that, by the way. The best part of Baldur's Gate 3 is that you can reclass for just 100 gold. Leo plays the fighter. He's focused on attack, speed, and defense. His Samadare skill is easily the main damager for most of the beginning of the game. It hits a bunch of times. Using buffs that increases attack and his crit chance really gets it going. Leo is special because he's the only one who gets fire elemental attacks, which is pretty handy because a lot of monsters in this game are weak to fire. His ultimate is a large fire attack that can increase everyone's crit chance and attack, making it the perfect setup for his Samadare. He's also part tank, as he can taunt and go into an auto guard, and then he can counter when he gets hit from there. He's more of a Final Fantasy XI ninja tank, as he gets skills like Phantom, which totally skyrockets his evasion. Dodge tanks are very fun. Dodge tanks don't have to make sure they're guarding the entire time they're tanking. They can attack. Gets through the fight really quick, and you still get your fun counters. Kina is our white mage. She's also pretty much the best tank in the game. There's really no grinding in this game. Everything is pretty balanced as far as experience points go. The combat, especially boss fights, are more exercises in your ability to use the systems. You can grind though. It'll be hard and it won't help you a lot. And if you're gonna strong arm through it, a Kina tank is a pretty good trick. She can taunt and auto guard like the others, but instead of counter attacking when she hits, she counter heals, effectively keeping her grinding non-stop. Plus the fact that her heals can cause regen if you build her that way, not to mention being able to barrier herself. It is very hard for Kina to drop. She also gets the best holy and earth type magic in the game, but it's not super wise to put her on the offense, but you can. She gets the best, but Zyndaker still uses holy and earth more effectively. Her limit break is the most useful, hands down. It heals and cures and regens the entire party, as well as healing them over their maximum HP limit. This has saved my ass more times than I can count. Equipping her with the auto revive gem can save a full party wipe, as the hit will most likely fill the party's overdrive bar for sure. Cheryl is our black mage, focusing on spike damage. Cheryl has my favorite weapon type in any game I can think of in recent memory. She uses rings to summon halberd-wielding spectral knights that fall from the sky, sometimes doing circle-based AoEs or massive spike, ice, or darkness damage. I never got tired of using her attacks. It's really fun to just point and click and call down a dragoon jump like it's a call strike. It's very cool. She also doubles as a debuffer, getting skills that cause sleep or blind. But most importantly, the almighty Dispel. Cheryl is one of the only team members who can't really be built in a different way other than her goal, which is damage. Her limit is a massive ice attack that can drop their attacks and their defense, which is pretty useful, but not more useful than just getting out a ton of ice damage when they're weak to ice. Zinniker is our warrior. His main job is to tank while doing pretty decent damage. His damaging skills aren't really anything special besides doing singular holy or earth attacks. Helpful, but in a game based on mostly AoEs, a single attack is just kinda whatevs. His job though is to take damage, and he does it great. He also comes with incredibly helpful attack and defense down debuffs. He also counters really well when he's guarding. Put on Million Fists, a weapon he gets, and his counters will hit up to 8 times, and it really racks that up. His ultimate is a large earth-based attack that can give defense and attack bonuses to the team, and it is the one I use the least. His speed is his worst quality. Thankfully, he does get gloves later in the game from Sebastian that gives him speed too. Incredibly helpful. But his NP is also Garbo, so giving him an NP4 gem or NP every turn is also really good help. Ez is our Artificer. His NP means very little to him, because he uses items that you find or buy to pay for his skills. This means when you're fighting bosses that use silence, or in this game called seal, Ez is not even affected by it. Ez is totally clutch. He mass heals, he uses elemental AoEs with his grenades, he can cast haste on the party, which is called quick in this game. Usually for someone's weapon to pierce through a full line or bend around corners, it needs to be special, but every one of Ez's regular weapons can do that. He can cast attack up on the whole party, he casts defense up on the whole party, and then there's his landscape spells. Vacuum sucks up monsters to a black hole, letting someone just tag them all in one hit or move them completely out of the way to hit a boss. Vacuum is very important, especially in the dimension. Bounce creates a ring that when you use skills that are in a straight line, they will ricochet around, hitting multiple times. It does get weaker every time it bounces, but if you use this on a boss that's weak against a specific element, this is how you get insane damage. His limit break freezes time and lets you take several turns consecutively, letting you reset your whole team or change the entire landscape. You won't get far in this game without using Ez. The dude does it all. His final weapon gives him this game's equivalent to Rivet, making him immune to all negative side effects. Personally, I believe that is the most important weapon in the entire game. Prickle is our Paladin. He's able to do some pretty serious damage if you use him correctly, but he's one of the best healers and definitely the best buffer in the game. His attack skills are mostly lightning based or physical. Frenzy is a skill he uses where he just machine gun rapid fires out. But the hit rate is pretty garbo. Give him a weapon that increases his accuracy, raises attack, and his crit chance, like having Leo use his limit break, and then just let the dude go. If they're weak to electricity, they're totally fucked. But barriers are key to this game. Even if you know attack will break the barrier, it still lowers the damage quite a bit based on your defense, making it never a waste of a turn, so barrier all is constantly being spammed. Here's a trick with barrier: raise your defense and lower the boss's attack. You'll be surprised on how long those barriers will last. You can also do a skill called a Mega Barrier, which only lasts for 1 turn, unlike 5 the normal barrier does, but it's way stronger. His limit break does massive electricity damage, but it also puts quick and barrier on the entire team, making it my #1 limit break used in the entire game. Not to mention, he has counters. He can counter barrier and then counter mega barrier, which could have made him a really fun tank if he could taunt. He also says the cutest things in battle when he fights.
Beam!
But he also says the saddest things when he faints. It's heartbreaking.
I hope I was useful.
Belrica is our green mage, and she's more of a debuffer, and in this game that's pretty huge. She gets decent attacks though. Darkness comes in handy, especially at the end game when you're fighting a bunch of gods. An arrow rain does shit tons of damage in a large ring of monsters. Give her MP attack though. With MP attack, they regain MP every time they attack. So every arrow that hits will give her more MP back. I don't think I ever had to give her an ether in the entire game. She always had max HP. Because she can earn her own MP, you don't need it. At least as long as she's playing offensively. So you can give her MP to HP convert gems and equipment to inflate her health and keep her alive. Her speed though is Garbo, so definitely equip her with something to make her go faster, like auto click or speed 2 gems. This game is tricky, so you'll have to find ways around the rules to work in your favor. Felrika's debuffs are a way to take advantage of those rules. You get to fight the Sand Sea Snake. That's such a hard word. You get to fight the Sand Sea Snake again, and this time it is pissed. It took me a few times to realize that I had to put the small groups of monsters to sleep instead of killing them because they always responded, and they took every turn they had to heal the boss. Also, if I slowed them while they were asleep, their turn didn't come up enough, so they stayed asleep longer. And remember that if you're gonna play this game or do that quest, and also definitely do that quest. That's how you get Ez's best weapon that I talked about earlier. Felrika is one of the few that can cause a status effect called Curse. A status effect that prevents the target from healing or gaining any kind of buff at all. It doesn't come up a lot, but towards the end of the game, when every boss is healing themselves, so it's a lifesaver to have it. Her limit break does a massive amount of dark damage to everybody and causes curse and displays their barriers. I spammed it a lot at the end of the game because again you're fighting gods and they're really weak to dark. Tam is our Dark Knight. He's able to do some really strong attacks but at the cost of his own health. He spends HP instead of NP when he does his attacks. He attacks with his spirit beasts that he controls with a lantern, and these guys do some serious work. Like Ez, he doesn't really need his MP, so definitely give him NP to HP converting equipment because he loses a lot of health. Auto regen equipment is also incredibly helpful, and you might want to keep an anti-curse jewel on you. Not being able to heal Tam could be your downfall. But he does also get stronger the closer he is to death. So you could pair him with Prickle for Mega Barrier so he can still do his best attacks, stack them up with his own buffs like Desperation that lowers his defense, increases his attack, Energize which gives attack to everybody, Mystery Potion which does a bunch of shit, and this dude slaps it out of the park. Tam is really built for damage and he's very good at it, but he can also debuff with Poison and Curse, but I found it better just to have him attack. His limit break is a massive non-elemental attack, which was also very helpful. It can also poison and slow, making it also very good on any kind of non-elemental boss fight. Slow is fantastic. The non-battle systems are pretty simple but effective. The jewel system works like accessories, all doing different things like fire resistance, auto regen at the fight, double experience, or just basic stat increases like attack or speed. These are all over, and they're very fun to collect. I liked how many different real-world minerals they used and assigned to talents to. When you unlock the skill tree, you're also able to unlock a skill that's passive, letting you equip 2 jewels at the same time, and that's the first thing you should unlock. The skill tree was a welcome sight. I had already talked about this a bit, but I was so ecstatic about a surprise in the game. There's also locked paths in these skill trees. Everyone has them, and you'll have to find different items or do different things like quests to unlock them. Things like Tam's final quest, where he finds Rudy, the spirit beast, and then can unlock the skills that summons him. There's also items too in the real world that will unlock paths. I suggest seeing what you like on the skill tree and then Googling where they are in the world because there's a shit ton and there's a big amount of chests in this game, and even I missed a bunch. Like the speed scroll or whatever it's called to let Ez get the ability quick all. I really wish I didn't wait to the end of the game to look up where I missed that. The weapon system is pretty basic. Some weapons can be unlocked farther by paying money and special items to enhance them. Sometimes they even evolve with a new name and looking new and cooler, usually stronger with the new ability, and sometimes they just get a little bit stronger. You don't really know. It's like a really expensive lottery. I don't really have any tips on it besides finding a perk that you actually like and just focusing on that weapon to make it stronger rather than just getting a weapon that has better stats and seeing what happens. There's another mechanic I thought was very fun, and that's the key mechanic. All along the world, you're going to find locked chests, and there are 5 different types of locked chests. Iron, Bacteria, Machine, Chaos, and God. These chests are everywhere, especially in the first parts of the game, because you're supposed to remember where they are, then go back when you finally have the key. Iron and Bacteria keys are really easy to find. There's monsters called Orblings all over the place, letting you farm them and get as many as you need in the beginning of the game. They're not hidden at all. Machine keys, though, are harder. Sometimes bosses drop them, the Cinderella Trio drops them, but you'll mostly get them from finding robots and returning them to the secret base after getting them for Pickle. Chaos keys are also found from Orblings too, but they're in a very specific dungeon towards the end of the game. The same for God keys. God Orblings are in the game's secret dungeon with a very irritatingly low spawn rate, but God chests tend to have the best equipment in the game. As soon as you open that robot quest though, do it. Hunt them down with a guide and get a leg up on the equipment inside the machine chests. It also unlocks Prickle's limit break, so there's no downside to just getting it out of the way. The design of this game is just pure art. Every area of this game was created as a diorama in real life, and then 3D scanned into the game where they dropped the characters in. There wasn't a place I ever went where I didn't find myself just looking around at the scenery, trying to figure out what all the things were made of. Every place in this game is a masterpiece. I would open credit cards to buy replicas for this game so I can play them in my D&D campaigns. It's just so different and a little weird and so welcomed. The areas that they incorporate water are my favorite, honestly. The work they had to go through to make these things is nuts. Every little thing they had was physically built. Small rooms and closets, hallways, even the world map. Every little battle map too is also unique. Just watching this game is pure joy. And the ship. The Uzra is so cool. The character models do look kinda mobile gamey, but honestly I can't imagine anything else to go with the handmade diorama sets that they have for the world. If they were to use more photorealistic characters, I'd probably get irritated by the obvious contrast with the environment. To go with it, the music composed and the audio god that is Uematsu is wonderful. Ironically enough, the only scores I didn't think were that amazing were the battle themes. So letting me wash over with the new remastered Final Fantasy versions of the battle themes was perfect for me. Every piece of art in this game was given so much attention and love that it really shows how much they actually gave a shit about this game. It's wholly unique. There isn't anything else out there built like this. It's worth playing, at least the free version, just to see it. Personally, I need the voice acting nowadays to keep me paying attention. Thankfully, the new cast that was chosen for this did an absolute amazing job. Alright, let's see how it ranks. And hey, maybe someday I'll get big enough that these scores will actually matter, huh? Until then, just know I am doing this for fun, so please don't get mad at me in the comments if you disagree. I'd love to hear your comments if you do disagree, but you know, made up scores aren't worth any threats, and it's Christmas, come on. I'm giving the story and writing an 8.5. The story as a whole is very interesting. Watching the pieces fall together was incredibly fun. Most things in Fantasian has meaning. Even how fortune tellers are kind of all over the place had a meaning at the end. There was a reason for it. These characters have interesting stories on their own, but again, I would have loved to see more interaction between them. Speaking of the characters, I'm giving the characters 7.5. Again, individually, they're okay to just good. I played the game for like 50 hours now, and it's weird that some of the character stories were missing something. A Tales of game has roughly the same amount of hours, and I feel like they put tons more when it comes into their characters as story, as a team, as any kind of interaction. I still did love a lot of the characters though. Prickle is king, Cheryl's entire storyline is one of the best, and Ez was just fun as hell. The battle and systems I'm giving 9. I love turn-based RPGs like a whole lot, and keeping that as the main battle focus while adding new things to make me actually think and actually try more than just smashing X until the small mobs are over was a real joy to experience. And if you're just over it, just warp back to the module and purge your dimension. You'll never have to fight anyone again. The art and design of the game gets a 10, and I'm going to stand by that. This game's design is so unique. I feel like unless they make a sequel, we'll probably not see something like this again. Coupled with the music, it's just something incredibly special. I know it's not everyone's spice, especially with how advanced games are. Sometimes simpler is better to me just because it's kinda different. I thought Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was gonna take RPG Game of the Year, and I was totally bummed that it didn't. But Metaphor cleaned house. I was really surprised about that and I didn't understand, and so I downloaded the demo. Uniqueness is stronger than graphics. Rebirth is still my favorite game of the year, but I bought Metaphor before I finished the demo because damn, that game is just flawless to look at. There's just so much style. And I feel like Fantasian has so much style, just in a completely different and completely unique way. Fantasian is worth your time. It's a long love letter to games that meant so much to us. While it might rely on, some nostalgia to get going, it holds its own by changing the typical turn-based and altering what we think randomized battles can be. The story feels simple, but it has so many hidden meanings that in the end I was kind of surprised on how complex it actually was. Hey, thanks for watching my video, especially if you made it all the way here. If you wanted to support the channel, the best thing to do is to hit the subscribe button below. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments what game that you think I should do next. I'm honestly thinking Metaphor, but we're also going through the Tales of series to try to figure out which one is the best. At the end of my videos, I like to show off a different channel or artist or thing that I'm into at the moment. Currently, I am non-stop talking about Electric Callboy, a German metal techno band. If you were in high school and you had Bass Hunter and Whitechapel on the same playlist, you're gonna love these guys. But that's it for me. Thank you so much, guys. Bye. Love you.